What's up, boys? It's a nostalgic gaming channel back at it again with some nostalgic gaming content in the form of Age of Mythology. We're back at it today with RTS Sunday. We finally made it to the Norse campaign. We're finally headed to the north. We made it through Circe. We made it through Egypt. We made it through Greece. And now we get to do it. We get to play with the Norse. So let's get straight into it. In Mission North.
At least Gagarensis has made his path clear.
This is the pass we seek. Beyond is Midgard.
I hope it is warmer in Midgard.
It will not be.
The north is full of tangled things, and text and aching eyes, and dead is all the innocence of anger and surprise.
Gargarance is back at it, spitting fire.
The avalanche has scattered our men. Our first task is to reunite our foes. We will need all the help we can muster to get through this pass alive.
Tilbúin. Já, skipa.
This pass is full of wolves. We must be careful. They mostly come out at night.
So obviously we're entombed by a blizzard, right? After Gargarance spit that fire poem at us, right? We get entombed by a major blizzard, right? Major landfall, major snowfall. So we have to get our troops back together, right? Quickly, because we know that there's going to be dangerous wolves out here. We need to protect our villagers specifically because they don't have any offensive troops with them. And we've already seen one wolf, right? And one of the things about these wolves is they get stronger in packs. So the more there are together, the more damage they deal. So one of the nice things about this map is I did play it twice because the first time I played it I lost a couple of my workers, and I was like, I'm not going to start off down so many workers, right? That's not a good start. That's why I was very careful to keep them safe and keep them in the area that they were. There's a couple different settlement locations that you can choose, which doesn't really affect so much the gameplay. It just makes it easier. The one that I chose right now, because it's more central, and you'll see why in a minute here, is we're going to be fighting a couple different factions. So that's one of the interesting things about the Norse portion of this campaign is you're usually fighting like different factions. Like the Norse people aren't very well unified, and you'll see that in the fact that several of these missions you end up fighting like different Norse clans and different Norse factions, and these people don't, because they're all fighting for like the same resources, and it's limited and it's a difficult area to survive in. There's a lot of inter-Norse conflict, right? And I mean, with the Norse, I know Norse is typically considered like the portion of like Norway and Finland and up there, right? Whereas Greece is Greece, right? There's a bunch of islands in Greece, but we know where Greece is. And Egypt is Egypt, they're Egyptians, right? So it's kind of hard for me to kind of imagine like the Norse Isle and how like these guys are from different areas, but they're pretty similar in culture and belief. So I think the Norse faction in and of itself is like their mythology is very interesting, and
Temples like this one are the source of the beasts in this pass. We must destroy them all.
It's definitely different from the other two factions for sure. So I know we saw in the tutorial, but the way that I'll break it down for you guys here, the way this works is when you play the Norse, and this gives you a little bit of an advantage too. This is very akin to my playstyle. Is when you play the Norse, your infantry and your infantry, yeah, specifically it's infantry because it's not cavalry, right, are able to build buildings, right? So you're not going to get any buildings out of villagers, out of gatherers, right? And they have two specific gatherers. Let's see who we're going to pick. Trolls or Valkyries? Trolls or Valkyries? I'm picking trolls on this one. Trolls are really good siege people. Not really siege, but they have a little bit better because of range, where the Valkyries have a healing ability. But so on this one, when you're the Norse, right, you build with your infantry. But there are two different types of villagers that you can use. There's the miners, and then there's the gatherers, right? So the gatherers are standard, villagers. They chop wood, they gather meat at a normal rate. And the miners specifically are much better at gathering gold, right? They're little dwarfs. but they are not good at gathering the other ones. Like they have a deficiency in gathering the other resources. So it's really nice to have miners mining gold if you can, and they only cost gold, where gatherers actually cost meat. So let's say you're rebuilding and you run out of meat and you need to pump out somebody real quick, you can pump out a gatherer, right? Because usually, I don't know, in my experience, I end up having more gold. Until the end, and then you end up being a lot more meat depending on how much infantry you make and whatnot, or what myth units you're using, right? So one of the nice things is we do get a healing well with this God with Forset, right? We get the healing well. So anytime we fight, we bring our troops back to the healing well and we will be replenished. But the healing well is a controllable item, right? If we put it out somewhere more dangerous, closer to the battlefield where we want our guys to get healed, and we end up losing that battle, we're losing that healing well, and our enemy's taking it, and there's nothing that we can do about it. And our first god power is the gold mine. The longer you wait, the further age you advance, the more gold mine, like the more gold you can mine from it. You can mine it from it faster. So it's a pretty nifty first power, right? I'd say it's pretty akin to like rain for your farms, but for gold. I think it's a strong one. I think it's one of the better starting god powers, right? Especially because it gives you that resource advantage. Oh man, my miners came from all the way when I rung the bell. Go back to work, boys. And if I didn't mention, you also have ox carts, right? So rather than building buildings to drop off your resources and points, you have to build an ox cart. Ox carts are like the mobile buildings, and it's pretty nice to have them. That way you're not spending time building these buildings, and you're not wasting resources on them if you're like Greek. But if you're Egyptian, I've seen a couple times where you can use the buildings as like walls and whatnot. So it's kind of the trade-off. It's nice to have the mobility. It's nice to have all your upgrades locations in one area, but they also are easy to kill, and they do cost a pretty hefty chunk of change. So it's a trade-off on both of them, right? I do like the ox carts. I prefer the buildings a little bit. That's one of the things that I'm not super big fan of the Norse with, but I'm a huge fan of having the infantry build the units. And one thing I learned in this mission specifically is when you have those stronger units, the hero units. I totally forgot their name off the top of my head here. Let's see. I believe they're called Horidor or something similar like that, right? So once you have them, you actually automatically generate favor. So it's nice to have those. They're pretty tanky, pretty buff units, right? And each of them is individually named because it's a hero, so that's why I couldn't just read his name off of it, right? And in Premiere Pro, where I'm recording this and doing the voiceover, it's too small for me to read, right? But I'll eventually get it. But they do generate favor, and I love those units because, you know, unlike the priests, which aren't super tanky or give too much damage, like these boys are beefy. They will put up a fight. They'll go toe-to-toe with a myth unit, not really any issue, right? And they're automatically generating favor. As you can see, I have pretty good favor generation in the bottom right now, right? It helps supplement the fact that you're not generating any favor if you're not fighting, right? Because normally if you have to fight the enemy to get favor with the Norse, right? So it's pretty nice to supplement that favor. Otherwise, you have none. And granted, it doesn't charge that fast, because I have 7 and look, it's not going up that fast. If you had somebody worshipping in a temple, or if you had a statue,
what manner of beasts are these?
It'd be going pretty quick.
The souls of the greatest warriors, we are doomed.
So these myth units here have a very similar, in fact, I'm pretty sure it's the exact same hero ability as Arcantos, where they blow a horn and all the units around them get buffed up, right? They do increase additional damage, and they're pretty tanky boys themselves. They're not my favorite myth unit. It's maybe nice to have one in an army, but I think they're pretty pricey for what they do. They're not that strong. Their ability is pretty good. Like, it could help change the course of battle if it's a really tight battle. But I wouldn't build really more than maybe like 1 or 2 of them in an army unit composition. So I would prefer the trolls as opposed to those guys, right? For a first starting myth unit. But that's just me, right? You're free to build whoever you want. The trolls don't have any real like power like that. So let's see. Brog with the battle boar, right? God of poetry and shields. Or Skade, goddess of wintress and healing. So I'm going to pick the battle boars for this one for one specific reason. Battle boars are siege units, right? I love frost giants. Frost giants are one of my favorite myth units because they have one of the coolest abilities. Their ability allows them to freeze enemy units and then they could just wail on them, right? And if you target some really high value units, that is a game changer for the battle. Granted, those guys are pricey, they're beefy, they're slow, but that ice breath that freezes the enemy units is such a game-changing power. I do love me some battle boars though, specifically for the reason of their siege units, and they buck like wild boars, right? They buck like wild horses when you get close to them. It's almost like watching the turtle, the war turtle, right? They have a similar power. And they're pretty tanky themselves. So Norse units generally are very tanky, right? Probably being up in the cold, their constitution being worn up because they're always in the freezing cold, but they're tanky units. So they're a fun faction to fight with because it's a lot more like kind of chaotic and battle, right? Send your guys in, they're strong. Like in my opinion, they have a little natural advantage to, you know, the other factions just in general fighting ability. But I digress. Right, and we're going to get this, that allows us to do increased siege damage to buildings. That way because we have to kill these temples to stop the enemies from spawning units. So that's going to be our mission here, is kill all those 3 temples that we see on the map, right? And as you can see, they're all different colors, so in my mind, those are all 3 different factions. We're going to make sure we load up on our archers, or our axe throwing men. So they don't have archers, they have axe throwing men in this specific faction, right? So for me, a fantastic competition is our hero units and the axe throwing men. That's like a fantastic unit composition. That's a very strong army here. We're going to send Amon-Ra out to scout around just to make sure we're not missing any real secrets, right? The enemy tries to counterattack us. It doesn't go very well for them. Our hero units just decimate them, right? Blow your horn all you want. You're not even attacking. It's not helping. So there we go. Now we got a battle boar with us. Make sure that our villagers are villaging. And one of the nice things about the hammer trolls, I didn't do it here, or yeah, I didn't do it. You can upgrade them, right? So they get a second head, and once they get a second head, they become much stronger. And I believe they attack faster and more often. But it's kind of cool to see the troll running around with the second head. Right? I can imagine them having a conversation, fighting with each other, and being like, "Let's go this way. No, let's go this way." And then they're pulling each other in the different directions. Well, we're gonna take our battle boar. We're gonna take the rest of our units here, and we should be able to kill this first temple with ease. Obviously, we're building our market a good distance away. That way we can get our ox caravans moving. So we don't have donkeys or camels. We have oxes. Oxes can survive in the harsh environment up here. And Amon-Ra is going to fight a single wolf. So the single wolf's not dangerous. Granted, they're a final like level myth unit. Oh, look at that boar. Look at him buck, right? That's why these units are so fun. I love the interaction that these other myth units have with like general units and whatever. Oh, they'll kick them or they'll throw them. That's why those are my favorite type of units. They have some kind of interesting interaction with the general units, right? Because imagine you're in this time, right? And you see this giant boar running at you, right? And all of a sudden he starts bucking and kicking. Like, that would be absolutely terrifying. Probably not as terrifying as seeing like a Hydra or a Colossus but if you're in the Norse up here and you're fighting, I guess out of all the myth units, the boar would probably be the least scary, right? right? Rather than see a pack of wolves running down on you or a frost giant. If you saw a boar, I guess you wouldn't be that frightened. I take it all back. Oh, there's a frost giant on my base right now. If we build a hero unit, he shouldn't be able to cast his spell on us, but when we send back our normal units, maybe you guys will get to see it. And can hero units pick up relics? I believe they can, right? Because it's just a general hero unit. And if we were playing in like actual multiplayer campaign or whatever, or if we're playing against other people, that's the hero unit that would need to collect the relic. Oh, no, he didn't get to use it because I had all my heroes around. So, one thing that the Norse don't really have,
A hero has fallen.
that kind of sucks, is their siege units are severely lacking, right? Their siege units are 2 guys with a portable ram. That's one thing that I specifically remember at this point, is their siege units are very lacking. Instead, they do have pretty strong units to compensate for it. Right, their general units are pretty strong. But how did those guys come back? I literally just killed their whole base. I must have missed a building or something. But they do only have 1 unit creation center too, which is kind of nice. It's like the Greeks frustrate me when you have to build one of everything, right? Like the archery range, and the infantry base, and the cavalry. It is nice to have that 1 unit. Like, if I want to spam several of them, I could spam out different units at the same time. So those Ulfskar are like that's your bread and butter. Like, you'll start off with that unit, right? That's kind of like your scouting unit, your general fighting unit. That's like the bread and butter unit of the Norse. Everything else is just a cherry on top. We'll save Amonra here, because she's been good to us. And I'm curious, where's Chiron and Ajax? Yeah, am I just not seeing them, or are they not here? I'm pretty sure they traveled with us to the Norse lands, and I'm pretty sure they're in other missions that are later on. But it's okay. At this time, we'll take our two Egyptian heroes, Amonra and Arkantos, right? Because they're the heroes of Egypt for saving them. Especially Amonra, like she did a very good job fighting for people. Arkantos obviously is the GOAT, right? We can all agree upon that. He's the main factor behind all these missions. He's kind of the driving force against Gargarensis at this moment. Unfortunately, not based on a real character though. He's a creation of the game studio, right? He's not based on a real person in mythology. And if I'm wrong, tell me. If you guys know of an Arkantos that actually existed in hit mythology or anything, let me know. And thanks guys, like I always say, thank you guys for sticking around and watching these videos. You guys make it worthwhile, whether it gets 1 million views or whether it gets 10 views. The fact that somebody's enjoying this content means a lot to me, so thank you guys. And for those of you guys that are watching and haven't, make sure you like and subscribe. It helps, right? Maybe one day we'll be able to get our channel to the partner level, right? Oh no, not the ram. Okay. But that'll be a long, long journey here. So after I finish up with this Age of Mythology series, right, in my Fable Friday series, I'm gonna start doing a couple of retrospectives, right? If that's something that interests you guys, like I'm gonna do older games. I'll probably do a full retrospective on Age of Mythology, kind of like in the vein of Josh Strife Hayes, where I evaluate the game. I gave you guys kind of a core breakdown of the concept. I give you guys whether it was good or not, whether I would replay it, and like if I enjoyed it. And I'm gonna focus on nostalgia games because that's the whole reason I created this channel, was to try and expose people to games that I loved in my childhood that, you know, other people may not have heard about, or things like that. I do play modern games, right, all the time. Like I know Baldur's Gate 3 is super popular. I've been watching people play that. I've been playing a lot of Elden Ring and so what. So if you guys are also interested in seeing that, let me know. Do stream on Twitch. I've stopped for a little bit, so but I'm going to probably start again in the near future. So thank you guys for that. After this tangent, let's get over to that next temple, right? I send this expedition party over here to try and find some more resources or find anything on the map that looks interesting. Build some settlements so I can get some more units, right? Destroy this wolf, find this relic. My guys apparently got stuck on a tree here. This is where forest fire would come in handy. By the way, if we are granted forest fire in any of these missions, I'm going to tell you the truth. It is by far the worst god power out of any of them. It's absolutely useless. It's honestly the worst god power that any race or any faction has. And I don't even know the Chinese ones that well. I know that anything they have is better than forest fire. Force fire is such a garbage god power. I don't even think it damages enemies if they walk in it. Literally, you just clear a section of trees, right? It would have been nice if they would have given us that ability, like with a catapult or something. Like, hey, you can use these specific units to clear out trees, like you can in other Warcraft and other RTSs. But it's an absolutely garbage. Oh, there you go. There's the ice breath, and he used it right on my battle boar, right? So it's super good against smith units, right? And these guys are green as opposed to the other ones. So again, it leads me to believe that they're a totally different faction of enemies, right? So the ice in and of itself doesn't kill. It does not kill your people. It just makes them immobile until the ice unfreezes, right? So granted, it doesn't give any specific damage, but it is a good myth power. It's super strong. That's a total game changer in battle. And we take down number 2. We only have one more temple left. So Dwarven Mine, that's what it's actually called. That's the full name of it. And last we have Flaming Weapons, right? Flaming Weapons does exactly what it implies. Oh, apparently I looked up the whole map to make sure I wasn't missing anything. And you see some out of the sight things that we can't really reach. Those houses there, nothing too crazy. I don't see any more relics. I don't think I ended up finding up any more relics. Cause there's one that was up there. I saw it for a brief second, but it's over by the last temple. So we'll send our guys over. We'll get ready for battle. We'll destroy him, and then we'll call it quits on this mission. Like I said, thank you guys as always for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Sorry I've taken a little bit of a break. I did injure my finger, and I was having trouble playing any computer games that weren't controller related. But it is nice to be back, boys. Don't forget to check out Fable Friday and watch my shorts. Those things have been, I think they're pretty good. I think they're pretty funny. So they might not be to everybody's humor taste, but check them out. Most of them are a minute long. If you could spare a minute, I would appreciate it. Apparently, I'm going to build another settlement just to show you guys how fast I could build it. But it is nice to build a settlement and just send a bunch of Ulfskars, right, as I'm fighting. That's the power of the Norse, just reinforcing like no other. Imagine all of a sudden outside your base is a fortress, a couple towers, a wall, and you're like, oh man, like these guys are leading me into my doom, into my demise. They built the settlement right outside your base, and then when your villager goes to try and build it, you got an Ulfskar hitting them in the back of the head with their axe. So it's definitely a nice thing to have. That's the strongest thing the Norse have going for them. And we're going to spam some more trolls. As if there isn't enough trolls in the world. Internet trolls, that is. Don't feed the trolls. I do like the voice lines for the Vikings too, or for the Norse too. It's pretty cool. Not as good as the Greeks. The Greeks are my favorite. Etimos, Izvoli. But the Norse have some pretty good ones too. And they have some pretty good voice lines for different myth units too. Like, I like how the giants, when you click on them and they speak, they have a very booming, deep voice. Exactly how I would imagine a giant would speak, right? And since our axe throwing men have that upgrade, right, through doing extra damage, their weapons are now on fire. My army's decimating, they're crushing them. We'll send our rams over and a hero unit just in case. Oh, my guy should have just followed him right in. We use our flaming weapons. And that should be it, boys. Like I said, thank you guys for watching. I will catch you guys on the next one. Let's watch a little bit more carnage before it gets out of here. But I'm out. See you guys next Sunday for another RTS Sunday. Oh, don't forget to watch this cutscene. It's important.
We'll have to find another way through.
We are being watched.
Where?
Wait here.